Welcome back to Blue and Red Meeple Board Games. My name is Jenny, and today we're going to talk about two games, Regroup Chicken Army and Cafe. I like them because they're both have kind of a similar mechanic with the way you're placing cards in a tableau, trying to build up points and win. So we are going to start with Cafe. Cafe is about coffee, pretty obvious from the name. So it plays 1 to 4 players. Everyone starts out with a starting card and then a starting action card to keep track of the actions that you have, and it's also where you keep the beans that you are collecting. So you'll start with placing your starting card in your play area. Each player is going to be playing on their own, and at the end you'll just be seeing who has the most points. There will be a stack of cards. There will always be 3 cards to choose from, so the first player will choose. It gets refilled. You go around until everyone has chosen the card and laid it and taken their actions. Everyone starts out with one of each of the different colored beans. There's yellow, brown, green, and red, which are represented by cubes of those colors. We actually 3D printed beans, which I love. Totally not necessary, but I think it kind of makes a cool little element to the game. So anyway, on your turn, you'll start with your starting card. There are the colored beans. There's a coffee cup. This is a roaster and a dryer. The number of coffee cups in your tableau determines the number of actions that you have on your turn. So everyone will start with just 1 coffee cup. So you'll place your little cube on the 1. And then as you are building up your tableau, you'll be increasing the number of turns that you have. And it is beneficial early on to get more actions, just to give you more to do. Otherwise, you're really limited with what you can do. So you're going to be drawing cards. So here I would have three to choose from. We'll say I chose this card. Each time you add a coffee cup, you have to pay a bean, sort of the price to pay for getting another action. So you would take one from your supply, put it back in the bank, and then place your card. You always have to cover at least 2 other spaces on another card. And that can lead to some really tough decisions because sometimes you're laying something that you really wanted to use, or maybe that would just really kind of set you up for your next turn. But unfortunately, hard decisions have to be made. So, I could lay here, I could cover anything I want. It's really important to have a roaster and a dryer at the beginning, though, so I don't want to do that. So I think I'm just going to place here. I could do here, but I think I'm just going to place here, cover up those 2 beans. And then, so that would be my turn. Other actions that you can do are you can produce. So you lay on adjacent beans. So in that case, I could lay beans on these 4 that are all in a row here, if you can see that. Once they're placed here, then you can move, and it's really nice because they're labeled. So A, that's the first thing you do. You produce. Then you're going to dry, that's B, and then C, you roast. And then once you've done C, then it's delivery. Delivery happens when you have cards that have buildings like this. So this is how you are going to earn points. You can see this is a building. You have to pay 2 green. Once you've done that, at the end of the game, you'd get 4 points. You also will score for beans that you have in your production area. I believe it's the column with the most and then with the least will score, something like that. Anyway, as you're laying, you're going to be trying to play strategically so that you can maximize your production, getting more resources out at a time. Buildings like this, let's see, so I have to lay. This is where the hard decisions come because it seems like you're always covering up something that you want. There's also this symbol, it's a ship. If you happen to have 2 of these in your tableau, then you don't have to pay that bean for laying a coffee cup, which can be very helpful as well, especially if you don't have much at the beginning. So in this case, I'm going to have to cover something. I wouldn't want to cover up my actions, but maybe I could do this card. Here we go. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this card because it's placing, you see if you place 2 roasters adjacent to each other, That means when I do the roasting action, I can place on both of them. So I'm going to be able to roast more at a time, which is very nice. So basically, you're just going to be going through your turn. I'll use the cubes just to, you're going to be placing cards, always having to cover 2. So you place. So in this case, I have 3 actions. So I'll just give you an example. So for my 3 actions, first, I could put all my adjacent beans. I've just got the 3 there. So that's 3. On my next action, then I only have 1 dryer, so I can only move beans of 1 color. I only have single beans, so that would mean I would only be able to move 1 bean. Then I could take another action, and I could move that over here. And then I have 1 more action. So I think what I'll do is we'll just go over here and we'll dry. Everyone goes around, does their thing. You're going to draw new cards. We'll say this time, let's see if I can find one that would. Sometimes there are double beans, which is nice. So this means you'd get to lay 2. But you can see there are cards like this. It's really a bummer. So you're covering up something with absolutely nothing. Now on another turn, so like in this case, it works out because it's on this side. So I hate to cover up that second roaster because that lets me double. But if I laid this, then next time I could just cover 2 blank spots, which would also be nice. So there's so many decisions, hard choices. And in this case, I could lay here. Next time I could, I've got my one here. Once I go through the process, I'd be able to score the 2 points for that. So you're going through until you've gotten through all the cards, and then basically you're just going to score up. So you'll add up all of the buildings that you've built, distribution centers, and then the beans that you have in your supply. So that's a pretty quick overview of Cafe. It's fun, and there is a lot of strategy. Again, deciding what to cover, what to choose, and then just the whole, at the beginning, you're so limited on the actions. So you really have to decide what's the most important to do. Sometimes because if you're going to go through and you don't have any buildings and you've roasted your beans, then they are just going to go into your supply. And if they're in your supply, you can't use them to build buildings. They stay in your supply. There are a couple of exceptions with, expansion, but otherwise you really, you want to keep them on here. So you want to get those buildings out there pretty early so that when you roast, you can put them on your buildings because that is where you're going to get the majority of your points. I have played this solo a lot. I have also played it 2-player. And it's another one of those games where, yeah, it's fine playing with other people, but because you're really building your own tableau, there isn't a lot of player interaction. So I don't know. I think that's probably why I prefer playing it solo. I don't think I'd ever bring it out and ask anyone to play it with me because I know player interaction is one of those things that I think is really important in a game and that what makes it fun. So for me, solo, perfectly fine, multiplayer, but I'm going to stick to it solo. So the next game is Regroup Chicken Army. And you see it's this nice tiny little box, which is great. But it does take up a fair amount of space. This is a 2 to 4 player game. So basically the same idea of laying and having to overlap. So it's a 4-player game. Everyone starts with a starting card, which is different from the regular cards because you can see it has 2 sides, whereas these do not. So it makes it easy to know at the end when you're cleaning up which is your starting card. There are 2 different sides. So at the beginning of the game, everyone will decide which side you're going to start with. So you're all on the same side, and then you'll lay that out. Everyone also has this nice little score tracker here, which I think is pretty ingenious. So basically, everyone starts out at 30 points. You're going to be doing some fighting. There'll be some battling. So as you're doing that, this is how you keep track of your health. So you just go down, you move it down by row, flip it over. Then when you get to the end, you are dead. So there are 3 phases in this game, and the first is arrangement. So you'll start with, and again, everyone is building up on their own. So you start with the deck, and then you'll have place your cards. So you will have cards to choose from. The one farthest from the stack is free. You have to pay a coin for this one, and 2 if you want to go from the deck. So you can see on the card that's denoted by a coin, and this is a potion which can give you health, obviously. So the red is attack, that's melee attack. There's also purple, which is magical attack. And then there's orange, which is the melee defense. Then the blue is the magical defense. And you can see sometimes there's only one, sometimes there are 2. It's like this card here, my starting card, I've got 3 melee attack and then 1 magical defense. This card has 2 melee defense, 1 magical defense, 1 magical attack, and then 1 melee attack. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be building up your tableau, trying to build the strongest army. The way to do that, so if I took this card, you want to have adjacent chickens of the same type together. So in this game, you only have to overlap 1. So I would really like to use that. The chicken would be nice, but I don't have any defense. So I think I'm just going to go like that. So you can see I just laid it like that. Everyone is going to be going around doing the exact same thing. So once everyone has laid their cards, then the attack phase starts. So since I started first, should be another card here, I have to call out what my attack is going to be. So I have, you can see I have, my cards are like this. So I've got 3 melee. This is not adjacent, so I don't get to use that one. So that would be the smartest thing for me. It's my strongest army. So I would say melee attack. So then you go around and each player is going to say what their defense is for that attack, which was the orange. So anyone who cannot defend the 3 would just subtract the difference from their health. And then the next person would attack, and attack, and attack. So everyone does the attack, and everyone is defending each of the players. Once you've gone around and done that, then you go through and you're going to draw another card, add your tableau. Everyone does that, and then you do your attack again. I don't know, it's just a neat little game. It's a lot of fun. It's very quick, and it's interesting because I like the element of the attacking and the battle. It doesn't, you've got your chicken army. It's kind of a weird theme, but it's kind of a fun theme too. So again, another game similar to this one. I like that you only have to cover 1 square instead of 2 like you do in Cafe. And I'd say there's just as much strategy in the cards because you might get cards that can really build you a strong army, but you have to remember that, you need defense as well. So just because you have a bunch of, you might have this great string of melee attack, but no defense. So it's one of those where you really have to balance and think about what you're placing. And, it is open, so you can see what other people have, but you're not always going to be able to, build that up. But you might say, oh, I see that this person here next to me is really getting a lot of magical attack. I really should get some defense because otherwise I'm going to lose, 5 points this next round. So you need to focus on yourself, but you do kind of need to see what other people are doing. Pay attention to that. So 2 quick little games. I'd say they both play a half hour or less. They're fun. There's definitely a lot more interaction with this game because you're doing the attacking, whereas really isn't player interaction with Cafe. But I like that I can play Cafe solo. But the fighting part is really fun here, and then trying to keep track of who has what and what you need to get. So 2 quick little games. They're fun. They're small, so these are ones that would travel well too. They don't take up a ton of space. If you're in a hotel room, you could definitely play it on the little desks that they have. Cafe, the cards are a little bit bigger, so it takes up a little bit more space, but definitely one that I would travel with. I hope you enjoyed hearing about these games today. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Until next time, keep playing games. Bye.